Dr. Cleveland Sellers, a survivor of the Orangeburg massacre. We left off with you on your way to jail after this incident.
Yeah, well, that kind of culminates what happened on that night. It was a tragedy of enormous proportion. Students from South Carolina State, students from Claflin College, students from Wilkerson High School were all kind of gathered on the campus during that time because there had been a series of demonstrations for 3 days prior to the shooting on that fourth day. But the event itself is the most important thing, and that is this was the first time in America that you've had such a tragedy in which police officers go onto the campus of a higher educational institution and open fire and kill students.
Right.
We think that the Orangeburg massacre, if there had been a proper investigation, if there had been some serious concern about what transpired, that we might have been able to find a way to prevent what happened at Kent State, which is more well known, some 2 years later. But that never happened, and it still hadn't happened to this day. So there's never been an investigation to determine what happened. Why did the officers pull the triggers? Why were they using double-aught buckshots, which are the highest volume of gun shell that you can actually use? It's used for big game. Why were there no tear gas or some other, using the bullhorn or something to tell students to back away or whatever it was? Why did the shooting occur? And since that time, we have had 2 apologies from governors, but no real action. And we are talking about reconciliation, we're talking about contrition, and we are talking about making whole those families of those individuals who were wounded.
Right.
That has to happen in order for us to get through to the next segment.
Are you pushing for this?
Pushing for it, been pushing for it now for 46 years. And I think that we will have a major push, usually during the month of February. Congressman John Lewis will take a congressional delegation down to Selma. And this year he's going to go because of the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1964 Mississippi Summer Project. He's going to take them into Mississippi. I'm going to begin to lobby him to bring that delegation in 4 more years at the 50th anniversary to South Carolina if we haven't had any more movement in that direction. And so, yeah, we're continuing to ask the state to come to the table, put together a Blue Ribbon Commission, talk about what happened, talk about who was responsible, and quit trying to throw the responsibility on everybody else's shoulders. I think that the Orangeburg massacre is the litmus test for race relations in South Carolina. If we can't resolve that, all the other issues are moot. And that's the thing that we need to know. But we also need to know that the students at South Carolina State and Claflin had a rich tradition and history and protest. And so this wasn't anything that was new. This was what was really going on and had been happening at South Carolina State and with college students over the whole country, especially at HBCUs, the sit-ins at North Carolina A&T State University. You had the Freedom Rides. You had any number of activities that were going on and bubbling up as students continued to become more active in their protests of racial segregation and the absence of the right to vote. And so students were in their own right. They were on their campus. They weren't violent. There were no weapons found. And so they were unarmed. And that we think that that's a part of the history that South Carolina has to embrace and has to address. In Birmingham and other places like that, those things have been a part of the ongoing discussion, and even in Mississippi.
Well, Dr. Sellers, thank you so much for your contribution to the civil rights movement and being our modern-day history maker.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.